A nomination for the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion named, the Turkey-Assyria ceasefire is shaken, and your game day forecast for the homecoming game. This is OU Nightly. Breaking news out of the office of the President of the University of Oklahoma. Hello, thanks for watching OU Nightly. I'm Madissen Lewis.
And I'm Taylor Wynn. Interim President Joseph Harris announced his nomination for the university's new Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion.
In a campus-wide email, Harris named the University of Central Florida's Dr. Belinda Hippolyte as a frontrunner for the position.
Hippolyte currently serves as Assistant Vice President for Student Development and Enrollment Services at UCF and has more than 2 decades in experience in higher education.
If the nomination is approved by the OU Board of Regents, Hippolyte will start in January 2020.
Fines for illegally parking in handicap spots are increasing in Norman. OU Nightly's Cal Day tells us about how costly it could be. When you're out and about, it's easy for the idea to pop into your head to park in a handicap spot if you have to run a quick errand.
But fines for doing this improperly are on the rise thanks to a new city ordinance. Violations have doubled from $250 to $500. Norman police will enforce the new ordinance, especially in their parking division.
Captain Brent Barber calls this an ongoing problem and is asking all members of the community to be more mindful.
There are people who severely need those positions in those places due to physical and or other problems that they don't have other opportunities and aren't able to walk to the store from a long distance like you and I may be able to.
Now, we're told that high traffic areas like Campus Corner are where these violations happen the most. With $300,000 of prize money on the line, there is no horsing around at the Oklahoma City Fairgrounds. This weekend, OU Nightly reporter Tevis Hillis joins us with the main event.
It's the most important time of the year. People have been training for months, even years for this trophy. But what is it? It's the Grand National and World Championship Morgan Horse Show. From Logan to Mario, these horses are ready to ride.
It is like a New Year's Eve celebration here at the OKC Fairgrounds. The Morgan Horse Show is in full swing, but it's important to know why the horses are so valuable. A Morgan horse is one of the oldest breeds in the United States and one of the most respected.
Morgans connect with people.
But this isn't their only specialty.
The Morgans bring families together, people together. You know, you have friends that you don't see every day, but you come once a year and you get reacquainted and spend time together.
People travel all around the United States and Canada to meet right in the center, in the heart of Oklahoma, to compete for something they have trained for years.
This is kind of the epitome and what we work towards every year. It kind of, we'll compare it to the Olympics.
As this brings the best of the best, the way to win is very simple.
Remember how you got here. Don't try and do anything special or too much. You've got to keep showing the way you've been showing. That's how you had success. That's how you'll succeed here.
People will train for many years before they even come close to winning. If you are interested in watching the competition for yourself, the event is free. Competitors will be showing their horses until Saturday. Watch as they fight to win the large trophy. Reporting in the Oklahoma City Fairgrounds, Tevis Hillis, OU Nightly.
If you're unable to go watch in person, you can watch a live stream online at morgangrandnational.com.
And the weather outside is gorgeous and just in time for homecoming weekend here in Norman.
Martin Lowrimore joins us with the current forecast. Martin?
Thank you very much. It's definitely one of those good fall days here in Oklahoma. We're looking at temperatures in OKC of 75 degrees. 75, not a cloud in the sky. Dew points actually in the 30s. Those winds are a little bit up there, south at about 23, gusting to upwards of 30 miles an hour. Not a blip on the radar when it comes to across Oklahoma. There are a couple storms that are starting to fire up. We'll get to those later because there's a lot more coming up for this weekend. Current temperatures across the entire state, 80s and 70s, beautiful across the entire state. We're going to be talking about a double cold front, severe storms possible, and another tropical storm.
Thank you, Martin. The Oklahoma State Department of Health released its weekly influenza activity summary. From September 1st to October 5th, there were 27 flu-related hospitalizations in Oklahoma. From the week of October 6th to October 12th, there were 7. And from the period of September 1st to October 12th, there have been 34 flu-related hospitalizations, but no reported deaths.
Class is currently out of session at schools across Chicago.
Stay with us to find out why classrooms remain empty for the second day in a row. Plus, an attempted arrest leads to a deadly shootout in Mexico. Stay with us.
Scott Haas joins us in the News Center with more on the deadly shootout in Mexico. Scott.
Thanks, Taylor. The son of notorious Mexican drug lord El Chapo was briefly captured yesterday. Ovidio Lopez and a group of armed men opened fire on the National Guard and police before being pushed back and captured. Supporters of the drug lord began surrounding the house he was captured in, causing a gunfight that lasted for hours. After being outnumbered and outmatched, the Mexican forces withdrew, allowing Lopez to escape. At least 8 were killed in the shootout. Nearly 24 hours after the United States convinced Turkey to a temporary ceasefire, the region still remains tense. Turkey confirmed that there is sniper and mortar fire within the ceasefire zone, but it has since stopped. This has come as the United Nations announced that they are investigating whether Turkey used chemical weapons in the area. Acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney is walking back yesterday's quid pro quo comments.
Did he also mention to me in the past the corruption related to the DNC server? Absolutely, no question about that. But that's it, and that's why we held up the money.
But to be clear, what you just described is a quid pro quo.
We do that all the time with foreign policy. And I have news for everybody. Get over it.
Last night, Mulvaney released a statement blaming the media for twisting his words and insisting there is no quid pro quo. And 2 explosions rocked an Afghanistan mosque Friday, killing at least 62 people. No group has claimed responsibility yet.
Thank you, Scott. No classes at Chicago public schools this Friday. Chicago teachers walked the picket lines for a second day. Eric Horn has more on the teachers' efforts to get smaller classes, bigger paychecks, and more funding for education.
On downtown streets and at neighborhood schools, teachers today united.
We want to create the greatest environment that our children deserve. And to have to march through the streets on a school day to do that, to us, it's profound.
A sea of red flowed through downtown following a rally at CPS headquarters. Teachers joined by students and parents on this day 1 of a historic strike.
Lori Lightfoot has campaigned as a progressive mayor. I'm still hopeful that she can be a shero.
Following all-day negotiations, the union reporting some progress after CPS submitted a written proposal on class size.
The bad news is the substance of the proposal doesn't go anywhere near far enough to address overcrowding in the Chicago public schools.
And the union says they're still not close on several other issues, including CTU's demand that a position be created to help homeless students.
We are in situations where we have to find showers for students. We have students that live in cars outside of the school.
Oh my heavens, she cried.
At a Westside Community Center, Mayor Lightfoot read to kids impacted by the strike and called on CTU to bargain with more urgency.
We need to make sure that we have CTU at the table night and day in good faith to close the gap and get a deal done.
Hoping to push things along, the Reverend Jesse Jackson arrived at negotiations.
We must move from battleground to common ground. That's what we really want to do because each side has some validity.
Union leaders say teachers will not return to classrooms until a fair deal is struck.
An historic first took place today in space.
We'll tell you more about NASA's mission when we come back.
And the weather is absolutely beautiful, but how long will it last? I'll tell you more after the break. It's been a wonderful day all across the state. Oklahoma City, Norman, wherever you are across the state, it has been beautiful. The camera's a little fuzzy, but you can still see how absolutely gorgeous it's been today. 74, not a cloud in the sky. Winds are getting up there. South-southeast, 14 miles an hour. Dew point now below 40. It's in the 30s, so that means it's very dry. It is just a beautiful day all across the state. Lows tonight, we could be expecting those at 51 here in Norman, 52 in Oklahoma City. All across the state tonight is going to be very nice. Looking in for your day planner tomorrow, starting the day off, a couple clouds, might see a couple showers, maybe a little bit of drizzle before the game, but by the time West Virginia, Oklahoma starts, it's going to be beautiful. Homecoming should be dry, very good, actually about what it is today. Those winds will shift to the north tomorrow, and they will get very beautiful all across the day. Southeastern part of the state, not so beautiful. We got a tropical storm, Nestor, is actually making its way toward the southeast coast. Florida and most of the southeast will be affected by this storm. It is making its way actually pretty quickly, about 20 miles an hour to the northwest. Looking at the futurecast, what it is, right now, 60 miles an hour will make its way into the central, in southeast part of the nation, make its way across the eastern seaboard, and will eventually make its way out into the Atlantic by the weekend. By the weekday, I'm sorry. The watches and warnings, right now there are nothing but tropical storm warnings all across the area. Not expected to be hurricane force winds, that means 72 miles an hour. So they're going to be expecting not a crazy huge storm, but enough to be concerned for that part of the state. First cold front coming in tonight, going to make its way across the area. Could give us a couple showers, nothing severe to be expected out of this. Starting on Saturday and then this Sunday, another cold front, much stronger coming in this way. Could see some severe storms, but that mainly is going to be making its way across the eastern part of the state. That's where the majority of the storms will be. Right now we're looking at the severe weather outlook right on the edge of a marginal, which is a 1 out of 5 from the Storm Prediction Center. A majority of the eastern edge of the state is what going to be affected by these storms. It could be even upgraded to a 2 out of 5. Looking into our 7-day forecast, Saturday, beautiful day for our game. Sunday, a little bit warmer and some thunderstorms could end up being a little bit later. Going into next week, Monday and Tuesday, there's going to get some clear skies throughout the entire of the week and a possibility of a much stronger cold front coming in on Friday.
Thank you, Martin. And the first all-female spacewalk took place this morning.
Astronauts Christina Koch and Jessica Meyer have been training together for at least 6 years and took the nearly 7-hour trip to space to replace a battery. NASA's Stephanie Wilson was also part of the all-female group this morning and served as the crew's chief communicator on the ground.
And that is all the time we have for news this Friday, but don't go anywhere.
Chloe Sparks and the Big Friday Sports team is here with the preview.
Today on Sports, it's homecoming weekend. The Game Day U Squad joins us to view the Sooners matchup against West Virginia.
Out of the 49.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the pink frilly Millie bag in my backpack. Blue backpack on the couch.
Welcome back to Big Friday Sports. I'm Chloe Sparks.
And I'm James Myers. The Sooners take on the Mountaineers this weekend. Sam Brown, William Soule, Shiloh Sellers, and Christian Nunley from Game Day U have some things to watch for tomorrow.
I'm Christian Nunley here atop the 3rd floor of the Gaylord balcony as the Sooners gear up for a matchup against West Virginia tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Last week, they took on Texas. Came out with a win 34-27. One highlight of the week was the defensive play all around. 9 sacks, 15 tackles for loss. I now toss it out to Sam Brown at the Switzer statue, who has a little bit more on the defense.
Christian, it's crazy to me that the last time Oklahoma lost to West Virginia in a regular season game was actually here in Norman back in 1982 when Barry Switzer was the head coach of the Sooners. Now, they had a star-studded secondary back then, but on Saturday I'll be focusing on the safeties that the Sooners are rolling out now. That's Patrick Fields and Delarian Turner-Yell. DTY and Fields are 2nd and 3rd on the team in tackles, respectively, and they've both shown flashes of brilliance so far this season, but neither one has logged an interception or a fumble this season. And tomorrow they're going up against the quarterback in Austin Kendall, who has been good, not great, and has shown some signs of making some errant throws. Now, if they can capitalize on those, switch the field for the Sooners, they're only going to have more chances to pile onto that scoreboard.
I'm out here in front of the Bazell Memorial Library, often known as the last line of defense for your grade. Speaking of defense, how about Alex Grinch's squad? Specifically that defensive line. 9 sacks, 15 tackles for loss. They were flying all over the field, and they put the rest of the country on notice. This defense has been a much maligned unit over the past couple of years as the Sooners have contended for a national championship, but they are going to be a force to be reckoned with this year, and they proved that not only to themselves, but to the rest of the Big 12 and to the rest of the country. Now I'm going to send it over to Shiloh Sellers at the Heisman House, who is going to talk about the Sooners' very own Heisman hopeful.
Thanks, William. I'm here outside of the Nissan Heisman House. They're setting it up right behind me, as you can see. Now, they're probably here because we have yet another Heisman hopeful in Jalen Hurts. Now, he didn't have his perfect game that he was looking for against Texas, but we all know he's always looking to improve. However, he still accumulated 131 rushing yards to lead the run game for the Sooners, and in total he had 366 offensive yards of the Sooners' 511. That's over 70% of their yardage. So going into tomorrow, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's going to have something to prove, and I can't wait to see what he's going to give us. That's all I've got for now. Back to you, Christian.
Thank you for that insight from the analysts splattered all around OU's campus. And if you want to hear more of their wisdom, be sure to check out Game Day U tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. on Facebook Live, OU TV, and all of Game Day U social media. Signing off, Christian Nunley from across the Palace on the Prairie. Boomer.
This weekend, Iowa State and Texas Tech will battle at 11 at Tech. A game you'll have to flip channels for between because Oklahoma plays West Virginia at the same time. A little bit later, TCU will be traveling to Kansas to take on the Wildcats.
Get your head in that game at 1:30. Baylor will also take a short trip to Stillwater, where they will meet with Oklahoma's second best football team.
Not including high school football.
That's right, Chloe. That game's going to be at 3. And finally, Texas will try to hook the Jayhawks at home for the last Big 12 game of the day at 6.
Fresh off a 1-0 win against Iowa State, Sooner soccer looks for their next target. And this week, it's West Virginia. Based on Oklahoma's recent performance, or should we say Kaylee Dow's recent performance?
Chloe, the Mountaineers better take a hike because the Sooners will be on top after Sunday's noon game. Also this weekend, the volleyball team will be searching for their 13th win this season, taking on Iowa State this Saturday at 6.
So if you're tired of watching Texas fight, tune in to OU Volleyball.
Last year's NFL MVP went down in a game last night.
Coming up on Big Friday, the status of his injury and how long he'll be on the sideline.
Welcome back, everyone. Martin, it's homecoming week.
It is homecoming week.
And so tell me, am I going to be able to wear a dress to this game, or do I have to wear pants?
Basically, you're going to be able to dress however you want. It's going to be an absolutely beautiful day when we come to the game. 58 as we start off for your pregame tailgating. 11 o'clock at kickoff, it's going to be 63 degrees. Beautiful. About homecoming, it's going to be about 70 degrees. And by end game, it's going to be 71. Winds are going to be out of the 10 to 20. I'm going to predict that the temperature at the end of the game is going to be 71. Final score, 49-17, Oklahoma Sooners.
All right. Thank you, Martin. Every October, as part of OU Texas Week, the OU Naval ROTC unit makes its annual 200-mile relay run to Dallas. And catch this, they're carrying the game ball with them.
Tori King joins us to walk us, not run us, through this iconic tradition. Sorry about that. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. But Chloe, in the NFL, the Chiefs fans, they were holding their breath last night after reigning MVP Patrick Mahomes left in the second quarter with a leg injury last night against the Broncos.
Today they can breathe a sigh of relief. Well, sort of. After an MRI revealed it's a dislocated kneecap. Reports are saying he should only miss a few weeks and likely will not need surgery, which was the best case scenario for the team.
Despite no Mahomes for half a game, Chiefs took down the Broncos 30-6. And this Sunday, K1 will take on fellow rookie quarterback Danny Dimes Jones as the Cardinals travel to MetLife Stadium to take on the Giants.
Murray is coming off of 2 straight wins and received the NFC's Offensive Player of the Week for his game against the Falcons. Jones hasn't had the same fortune, though, as he's been handed 2 straight losses.
That one kicks off Sunday at noon. Also this weekend, Lamar Jackson and his gaggle of Sooners travel to Seattle to battle Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Since their loss to Mayfield and the Browns, the Ravens have won 2 straight.
For the Seahawks, they're firing on all cylinders with a record of 5-1 so far. Although Hollywood Brown is questionable, Mark Andrews will be out there for this cross-conference matchup that kicks off Sunday at 3:25.
Chloe, with the Nationals securing their first ever franchise World Series appearance, who do you got in the ALCS, Yankees or Stros?
Well, James, Astros pitcher Zach Greinke was struggling at the beginning of last night's game. I mean, he had bases loaded. He ended up making it out of 4 innings, giving up just 1 run. A pair of 3-run home runs hit by George Springer and Carlos Correa was enough to keep the Astros on top for the entirety of the game. It's safe to say fans were a little nervous when it seemed the Yankees were going to catch up, but the Stros closed it at 6-3. After tonight's 6 o'clock game, James, the next MLB game you watch could be the World Series. And James, this week's top play was some Bulls.
That it was, Chloe. To be more specific, it was some Chicago Bulls. After second-year center Wendell Carter Jr. dunks one in, he makes this face. And, I'm not sure. Was it the squint of his eyes? Was it the scrunch of his nose? I don't know what it was. Whatever it ended up being, he gets a technical for that.
It was a slight flex, but come on, it was a sick dunk. You got to make some kind of face.
Chloe, talking about the Astros going to the World Series, possibly tonight if they secure that win, let's go ahead and just talk here. I think there's only one other team left in Major League Baseball that hasn't made it to the World Series. I believe that's Seattle, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and actually the Nationals are just making it for the first time under, their new name, and which is the Nationals. Now it's a 3-1 lead for the Astros. They just need to win 1 more.
It's crazy to me. 3-1 lead. You don't want to break that ever because then you're pretty much taking away all momentum you got if you lose 2, force it to a Game 7. It's going to be really interesting to watch tonight, I think.
The good thing is, though, they are at Yankee Stadium. If they win tonight, or if they lose tonight, they'll be able to go back to Minute Maid Park and, hopefully get that dub.
Hey, home court advantage, it always helps you out here.
It sure does. All right, well, that's it this week for Big Friday Sports.
Take care, and remember, Boomer Sooner.